Well, well, well. Good evening, everybody. Hello. All right, on. All right, good to see you all. Thank you so very much for joining us tonight. My name is Derek Elder. I manage the City of Seaside's Family and Community Support Program. We are the city's mobile crisis response and social work program. So we are unique and pioneering in the sense that the city has something directly to outreach from a social service nature when first responders are going out to those calls, and it's really not kind of in the nature of what they do. So it's pretty cool to do this kind of work. It's a creative kind of way of approaching, kind of a multidisciplinary approach to addressing people's needs. And so we are here tonight for the second now listening session on the State of Homelessness put on by the Seaside's Homeless Commission in partnership with our program. And so I would like to make some introductions before we get started. So first, I will continue on with my colleagues who also work under the Family and Community Support Program. So we have Vanessa Robinson. Please make a wave. She's one of our Family and Community Support technicians, and she works alongside me and our other colleague in providing direct services from a mobile crisis response nature, of course, to case management, you name it, just helping out people in the community. And then we have Denise Mejia. And so she is also a Family and Community Support technician. And what's great about Denise is she's able to provide bilingual services. So we're able to meet the needs of those folks who are Spanish speaking. Next, I'd like to introduce our City of Seaside's Homeless Commission members. So first, I'd like to introduce the chair, Mr. Ben Strickland. And then I'd like to introduce the vice chair. We have Leslie Mugen. There is an additional commissioner who was not able to join us tonight. Her name is Linda Cunningham. You may know her out in the community. She's very passionate about this work. She's quite engaged, but she just unfortunately had a schedule conflict. But she, behind the scenes, has helped encourage this. She has taken the lead on our previous listening session. So, Linda, wherever you are out there, we appreciate you also. Okay, and so with the introductions, there's lots of important people in the room. And so they can decide when it's time to introduce themselves as the agencies start to share. And so I do want to kind of open up then that as the next portion of tonight's activity. Before we do that though, just to point out a couple of things. On my left, we have a table with a black tablecloth over here. You'll see some snacks, some goodies. Help yourself. That's for you. It's free of charge. So please help yourself. And then further down, we have a table with a blue tablecloth on it, and that's kind of like our sign-in, introductory table when you first get here. On that table is a clipboard. It has a sign-in sheet. You'll just put your general information, what you're affiliated with. We like to start generating contact lists so that as things like this take place, if there's important information that needs to be distributed out, we can do so. Also on that table, you will find an agenda for tonight's events. That looks like this. And then you'll also find a piece of paper that says Homeless Commission. It also has the Seaside logo on it, Seaside boards and commissions. There may have already taken all of them. I'm not sure if there are any more. Basically, this is just to promote that the Homeless Commission has vacancies for the city. We really do encourage you to either go on the city website, it has information there. I can make more copies at the end if you are interested. We really do need to fill those seats, as it's important to have as many voices at the table just to help do this very important work. You may also find on the table a stapled piece of paper that just says Seaside Homeless Survey 2024. Essentially, that's just, again, to gather information on who you're affiliated with, but also there's some kind of directed questions around the needs of the community. If you work for a specific organization, what do you offer in terms of services? You know, where are there gaps? Basically, we want community input, so this is one way to do so. Yes, that. Last but not least, also on that table is the flyer. On one side is English, the other side is Spanish, and is highlighting our program, the Family Community Support Program. It was made to my attention, brought to my attention that not everyone is aware that we are existing in the community. So we just wanted to highlight ourselves, just so you know we are here. So that's back there. The table next to it has 3 poster boards on it. That's also another way that you can give input. And each poster board has a different question on it. One question says, what is working? Right? So we want to know, like, what have you engaged in terms of services related to housing and homelessness that you do find is actual supportive, that is working, you know, that is generating some progress to address, you know, these issues. Then there's a board that says what's not working, of course. So it could be something that's here already, right? But for whatever reason, you know, the system is complicated to navigate. There's a lot of confusion. Of course, we know that there's a lot of need out there, but not enough providers, right? Things like that. And then the last poster board says what's missing. So these are things that we can probably say we can't find that exist either directly in the city of Seaside or throughout the county as it relates to addressing the needs of the unhoused. So whenever you can get up, you can engage, go back, check it out. And then additionally, we have some resource tables back there in the back from certain agencies throughout the county. We have the Central Coast Alliance for Help. So they're there to bring information on how they work with Medi-Cal recipients. We have the Epicenter, which is kind of a youth support social service agency. They do a lot of great work with the LGBTQ+ population. We have Downtown Streets team. You know, they're heavy outreach organizations, especially when it comes to trying to meet the needs of the in-house that live out there on the streets. And then we have Interlink as well, so the Make Home program, which I know some of us have made referrals to, work with on a regular basis, is also in attendance. And so you can engage with any one of those organizations at any time as well. So, moving on. So I'd like to now move to the portion where we will have agencies share who would like to, as well as allow for questions and answers as well. This isn't really a formalized thing, so whichever agencies are in attendance, we would like you, if you feel so comfortable to do so, to share. And I have invited, agencies across the county who work in housing, and so do we have anyone that would like to start us off? Who's brave enough to start off? And it's just giving a general kind of, this is what we do, this is what our services are, and then to allow people to ask questions, for clarification as well. On the back of the agenda, there are some concerns and questions to help guide you if you're not quite sure kind of what information you feel might be valid or relevant to share with the group.
So my name is Dave. I'm from Monterey County Free Libraries. I am the manager of Seaside branch, just up the street here. And I don't have the agenda in front of me, but I'll just talk. We do a lot for the community. We are a place open 6 days a week. Anyone can go in, no matter your status in the world. We are open to everyone and welcome everyone. With that comes some issues for us and the community. Sometimes we don't have the resources to help everybody, and sometimes if I reach out to other members, they don't also have the resources. So it leaves us kind of in a tough spot sometimes because we want to help everybody. We want to be able to do everything we can for everybody, and it feels like we let some people down sometimes. But we're happy that we're there 6 days a week. We're happy that we're there as an emergency resource as well. Like during the storms right now, the Seaside Library was an emergency center. We had some kits where we handed out to people, blankets, flashlights, food, water, that type of thing. It is not uncommon for us to do that sort of thing and step up and try to do more than maybe we can always take on, because there's only ever 4 or 5 of us at the library. So we just want people to know we want to be a valued member of the community. We want everyone to know that we value everyone in the community, no matter their status. I think when you turned that one on, it turned off. But yeah, that's basically it. We work with Derek and Denise closely. They help us out a lot. We work with a lot of other community resources, community services, to just help people get what they need. And I'm always looking for more people to help us out and help our people out that come hang out with us.
Thank you so very much, Dave. I do have to express our gratitude for what the library offers, as a hub that allows for folks who sometimes go feeling undignified, unsupported, unwelcome, in the community, that the library welcomes them with open arms, allows them to come in, to have a safe place, just to be able to take a moment, they can utilize the facilities, they can look up, resources and information, things of that nature. And because he does have a direct link to our program, we can then be engaged to go out and do our best to try to work with those folks in need. That's what this really is about. It's about collaboration.
So my question is with regards to the patrons that come into the library. Have you noticed an intake or a spike on youth homeless that come into the library, and specifically during the winter months? And how do you combat that with patrons that come in to utilize the library?
So no real spike in youth, spike in overall people coming in during the winter. We have, heaters, we have computers, we have other resources that people utilize, but youth, not in an overt way that we can tell that they're houseless and needing some sort of support. No real spike in youth. We do get young people, but they're over 18, and I forget the name of the people who help us out, but they are specific for houseless youth in the county. 22 and under, I think, is their range. I forgot the name of their group. Community Human Services, yeah. And they come by and talk to people and talk to us, and they have a crew that they help out and are always looking for others if we can point them in the right direction. But during winter, of course, we get a spike in people who maybe got rained out of their normal shelter place or whatever reason. So like this week especially, the hail yesterday, the wind, the rain, all that kind of stuff, power outages. We had, like I said, blankets and flashlights and food and water. And instead of our normal 300 people that we see, we saw 600 and 500. So we were very busy, very busy.
Dave, are there opportunities for organizations, say like us as the Family Community Support Program or any other organization, to come to the library, maybe resource table there, highlight what we do so that those folks who need are aware of this, and because we know they like to come to that place to get information?
Yeah. So we are always looking for partners and always looking for people to hang out, table, hand out information, meet and greet our customers. I would love if in a perfect world, none of this would exist, but it does exist. So I was hoping that other organizations, other groups would have the resources to come hang out with us an hour a day, an hour a week, whatever it is, and just meet people that come in and offer their services. Because we do things like free resume help. We can do free printing for people if they don't have the funds to print. We have people, librarians, of course, who can help with like research for housing and research for other things. But it would always be nice to have other experts to help us out and help the people out. So if anyone wants a table, let me know.
Hi, my name is Giovanni Baniola. I am a care coordinator in this past care management department. I just wanted to give just general information. I know some of you have came up to the table, but we also provide community supports and housing assistance, trying to prevent people from being homeless or the homeless population, getting them housed and keeping them housed. Like I mentioned, we have a lot of information here. I know Dave was mentioning about the homeless people at the library. As long as they're Medi-Cal recipients, they can give us a call and we can set them up with a community supports provider. And there's a lot of other benefits that we offer, like I mentioned. When I come up to the table, so much information here. But more than anything, we are doing something about the homeless population, getting them housed, keeping them housed.
I know for myself, I was excited when I had heard that they could literally supply or provide a Medi-Cal recipient with a case manager, someone that can help them navigate through the systems that sometimes are very complicated, difficult to understand. They might, the individuals who need help might not just have, a certain capacity to know how to, do certain things, that someone can actually go alongside them and help them. I think that's amazing, and we know a lot of the individuals, families who are in need of housing or supports related, probably receive Medi-Cal as their form of health insurance.
Do you guys also help with obtaining Medi-Cal or dealing with their paperwork in general?
So we do have walk-in hours, however, to apply for Medi-Cal, so if you come on by, we have a brochure with the information you need in order to apply for Medi-Cal that is done through DHCS in Monterey County. So you can go to any of the social service offices in Monterey County, and that's who you would apply through. Once you've been approved by the DHCS service or department, that's when you'd be sent over to us. So we're the contracted health insurance provider for all Medi-Cal recipients.
And for further clarification, programs such as ourselves who provides case management, social work, we certainly have helped folks sign up for community benefits like CalFresh. And as far as I know, when you go to like the benefits Cal page or can you sign up for everything in one place, including Medi-Cal, or does it only have to be through DHCS?
So that's not technically an alliance question. However, I want to work for eligibility in DHCS, so yes. So if you go into Monterey County, like eligibility or like Medi-Cal, you'll see something where you can apply for Cash Aid, CalWorks, Medi-Cal, CalFresh. But again, that's through your Department of Health Social Services, not through the Alliance. We're just a managed healthcare plan that the state has chosen.
My name is Alex Soltero. I'm a management analyst for the Department of Social Services, primarily assigned to homeless services and providing staff support to our community action partnership. But I did want to address your question. So we have multiple ways how a person can apply. You can come to one of our district offices. We have one in Seaside, Salinas, and King City. You can also apply online at benefitscal.com. We also have a phone number where you can apply by phone. You can apply by mail. And I feel like I left one out. But definitely, when you apply, you can apply for all programs. So we have cash assistance for the CalWorks program for families. We have health coverage through Medi-Cal, food assistance through CalFresh, and cash aid for single adults through our general assistance. I'll introduce myself again later, but I just want to address that question. Feel free if you want to connect after.
Thank you.
So I didn't realize that you all help with homeless services. Can you kind of give a description of some of the stuff that you do with homeless?
So for the members that qualify, and almost all our members qualify, it's a grant of up to $5,000 that the members don't touch that money. It goes from your health insurance over to your future landlord. Those $5,000 can be used for your deposit, first and last month's rent, and any medically necessary furniture. Once we have the member housed, and we make sure that you can afford the housing, there's another service, housing sustaining services, where we help you navigate your bills, understand the rules and regulations of your apartments, making sure that you know when your rent's due, how to pay your rent, if you're late, how to go about that. So not only do we make sure, or we try to make sure that the member is housed, but keeping them housed after they've already gotten either the $5,000 funding or up to the $5,000. And it's just a matter of you calling the Alliance. Call the Alliance and say, hey, I need housing assistance, and we'll help you out with that.
Thank you.
So that would be member services.
Yes.
So, yeah, contact member services through the Alliance if you are a Medi-Cal recipient.
My question is with regards to the homeless assistance program that you guys have. Does there need to be a referral process in order to access that service? And how, since you are a third-party administrator, how are you connected to the coalition, which is the housing of our homeless program countywide?
Hi, Stacey Simmons. I'm the Community Engagement Program Manager for Central California Alliance for Health. So we actually have staff that sit on the coalition. So Lilia Chagoya is our Community Engagement Director. She just recently transferred departments. However, she's still with the Alliance. And the Enhanced Case Management program that was referenced by Giovanna is actually a self-referral. So you do not need a referral from a doctor or a community-based organization.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Cynthia, and my question is regarding the program that you guys provide, the 5,000 for the homeless. It's only for people who has social security number, or it doesn't matter the status, immigration status?
So we actually have a flyer on this. So restricted Medi-Cal has been open to full Medi-Cal for all starting January 1st of 2024. So we just encourage you to come on by. So to apply for a Medi-Cal, again, it's granted through DHCS. The state is determining if you're eligible or not. Once you've been approved for Medi-Cal, then we are the managed healthcare plan for that. Yes, and so you're welcome to take pictures. Perfect. So Derek's gonna run one over to you, walk one over. But you're welcome to come on by and ask us any questions. We have Giovanna from our Enhanced Case Management Department, so she specializes in all of these questions, anything to do specifically with housing.
Somebody that wanted to know about services for homelessness, or for somebody who's without a fixed nighttime residence, is I think the way it's described in the literature. And iHelp is the service both for men and for women. It's a nonprofit, and it was set up by churches a long time ago, many years ago. Reverend Gaskin was one of the initial folks in his church who worked in homelessness 30 years ago. So this has been around a while, and it's just now literally in our face as we stumble over people who are without housing. And so iHelp was funded in part by the government, and when the government stopped their services, Salinas decided they couldn't do it. They stopped funding it, the government. And it would pick up people at a fixed place. They were all men in the beginning, and take them to various churches. And at the churches, they were fed, they were given a mat to sleep on, and they were welcomed. At St. Mary's, when they come, I like to think that we treat them with radical hospitality, just like our best friends were coming to dinner, because we're all connected, and we know that. So right now, we have 24 churches, for the most part, I think, 24 churches and one synagogue that house people overnight. A couple of churches, St. John's and the Seventh-day Adventists, have them 4 times a month. They have them every week. And the men are in one house, one faith community place, and the women are in another. We take safety very seriously. We don't allow anybody in who's just staggering drunk or clearly under the influence. We have a lot of compassion for people who suffer from addictions of all kinds, as well as mental health. But we can't always take them in because of their needs are greater than what we can supply. Almost every penny we get comes from people like you, families, folks that care. We've gotten a lot of money. It's been, we got $5,000 to pay gas for the buses that we have to pay the bus driver for, and we have to maintain their buses that were given to us by the transit folks that are no longer using them. So they're always breaking down, and we're always having to fix them, but we're grateful we have them. And they pick up people near Naval Postgraduate School for the men, and for the women over right next to the Y, across from on Fremont, from the car wash. And don't send people there. Tell them to call us. We have a phone number and we'll answer it. We don't have any full-time staff. We have half-time women coordinator and a half-time men's coordinator. And the board does all the work. We have no executive director. And what I mean by all the work, they just keep the program going financially and hire the staff that we have to have somebody on site every night. Both the men and women's coordinators, directors, have been in the field a long time. So they're not professionally trained, but they really know a lot about the reasons why people end up homeless. Usually it's at the root cause of it is there isn't enough homes, low-income houses anywhere to house all the folks that need housing. And I work on it. I'm on the board. We're a board of 7. We're always looking for people who are willing to roll up their sleeves in raising money, in keeping the program going, and handling a lot of the complex problems that come to you. And we sometimes get people that just raise our hopes because they do end up with housing and they do end up with a job. But we also right now have 7 women, 5 of whom are over the age of 65. It's really hard. So you have to be able to climb the steps into the bus, and you have to be at a church, make sure that they can manage at a church. Sometimes there's steps at a church. They're not all ADA compliant because they can't afford it. It's an interesting job, and we welcome people who'd like to volunteer or learn more about it. But it's also a place that you can send people you know and know that they're going to be safe. You're not going to be raped. You're not going to be assaulted while you're in our facility. We take safety very seriously, and we try to welcome everybody with open hearts. We have clear rules. We have to, and you're welcome to stay as long as you need to stay. And that means until you get housing and until you can manage the housing. If you'd like to know more about it, please come and take a card, and the city has our cards. The city has given us, the Homeless Commission has given us money at times when we didn't know if we'd have enough to make it through the next month. So we're grateful for anything that your church decides to do, you decide to do. If you know somebody else, like Rotaries, or as I was saying, the Rotary gave us $5,000, and it was a combined Rotary gift. And I was so excited. And then when I saw our treasury report, we get one every month, we followed the money very carefully. I thought, $5,000, our gas bill for the month was $4,000 and change, not quite $5,000. I was so excited, here we got this giant check for gas. Well, it doesn't go very far with our old buses, and we operate 2 of them every morning. You'd have to get up very early in the morning. They're on the buses by 7 o'clock, and we pick them up at 5. If you're working and have to come in late, we try to deal with that. There's no charge. The referral is simply that you talk to our person who will ask you some questions and arrange to meet you, and then you come in. We don't care what your background is. We don't ask a lot of embarrassing questions, and we'll work very hard to get you the services that we can get you to, even though we're only there in the evenings. We know where to send you, and we have lots of contacts in the county. So I guess that's all. If you have any special questions, please feel free to ask. And if you have any concerns, or if you know somebody who's been in iHelp and they were asked to leave for reasons not known to me this minute, or even maybe known to you, but they're still struggling, tell them to come back. Tell them to call again. Sometimes people are more ready than other times to face the realities of their lives. Thank you.
I've been at the iHelp program for over 1.5 years. So your program there, you're supposed to pick people up down to the Navy School there at 4 o'clock, and you take them to a certain church, depending where it is, because you don't want them to know, like they're going to tell people that the shelter is. I've been there once. Before I had my vehicle, I had to live down to the Salvation Army. To the Navy School with a cane and everything. Then you drop the men off by 7 o'clock in the morning. I see shelters around here where it seems the women get to stay for a day or so. He said, his general assistance, you haven't helped me with any housing program, asking me getting an apartment or anything. I get my disability check. A majority of the programs around here, they put you in line. That's all they can do. But that $5,000, it just seems weird that you say you're spending it on the gas bill instead of food or sleeping bags or anything to help them in. They come to the Salvation Army and they get food. They can do washing there. They take showers. We do all that there, and they're kind and gentle. So you can improve that program. They have them show up at the church. It's going to be a shelter for the night. And to me, programs like that just need to be upgraded. The wording in the grant money and assistance for programs and stuff too needs to be switched up. Should be stuff in there for battered men. We get more people in the hospital now than women do. More women are in MMA and kickboxing and stuff like that. They know how to handle themselves. But the homeless women out there, they got attitudes. They know how to play the game. But these things need to be looked at legitimately because we're all God's children. We need to be looked upon as God's children. We need the help of God. And without the proper sayings and the proper way, God is getting angry at our belief system and our free will that God gave us is not doing the right way. So we're all human beings being allowed under us by God. Mankind, we should be kind to one another. So we're all racism is we're all 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes. We all bleed the same colored blood. If you're darker skin, you're closer to the equator. If you're lighter skin, we're closer to the North Pole. So we're all God's children. We all should be able to help and kindness to one another that needs to be. And that's what puts us in a shelter, in our home, apartment, affordable in this town is ridiculous. Military, I'm sorry I'm doing this all right, I'm just speaking out. Military gets a voucher for $3,500 a month for rent. And their landlord agreed is marking up all the rent in this town to a single bedroom that I used to stay in an apartment for $700 a month. After 20 years, went out last summer looking for a place to live, and they're going from $1,900 to $2,400 now. The 2 bedrooms are $2,400 to $2,800, and the houses are going from used to be $1,000, $1,200 to $2,000 to $3,000 a month. The Hispanic people, they get benefits over in Salinas. They have field pickers. They have their own housing over there. I was with Monterey County Housing Authority, and I had to have a person with a green card be part of the program for me to get any housing if I'm going to share housing with anybody. There's these little things that need to be looked upon, bigger and brighter. The government was even trying to get homeless people to start answering questions about what is going on out there, what do you see, and what happens. And it's just the nightmare of being at the bottom, that nobody gives a damn about us. And I'm a good person. I mean, I got kicked out for COVID-19. That's a government-run situation. We all know. And I had to get my vaccines, or else I couldn't come to the shelter. So it's these little things that just need to be looked down upon and frowned upon. But help in the homeless disability. I'm 61 years old. I'm a senior with 2 disabilities, and I should be bumped to the front of the line. If you're 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, wait in line. That's fine. You're young and full of energy and everything. I'm tired and old, and my end game, the clock's ticking backwards for me now. So, I mean, the average man lives between 72 and 92. So, I just wanted to be in a safe place and off the streets. Back in the 80s, I was a street guy and all that. I played the game before, so the game was up for me. I just want to be in a affordable, safe place. And I get my disability check each month, so anybody that can do their programs, relook at the instructions that you guys get. Battered women, they're not all battered. They're not taking that. They're in MMA, they're in kickboxing, they're in wrestling. I mean, they know how to take care of themselves. This isn't the 40s and 30s anymore. This isn't the 60s. I mean,
And so that we hopefully, that's what this is about, is how do we start moving forward and creatively approaching this, doing something different, right? You know, because that's the only way we're really going to resolve it. And so I hear what you're saying, and
Yeah.
we're all taking notes to make sure that we can, you know, figure out how do we start addressing those very things that, where there's gaps and
the
what's
biggest
missing.
thing that you mentioned, all the housing that's being built at Marina on the former 4R base, all the barracks that were torn down, that could have been assistance for homeless right there. People that went off the streets like I do, that show that they went off the street. You got a bunch of young bucks out here that just want to party, steal from each other, and do just ridiculous stuff all the time. And that's annoying, but the police look down upon everybody. And I'm like, God, I keep my truck clean, I show I don't throw trash around. I'm trying to show that I'm not that person. I'm a damn person of God. And Jesus Christ, I mean, I carry my cross. I am with God. But it's that part of the homeless that they just don't care about being anything good. That part of the downgrading, the trash is not everybody's fault. Speeding around, doing bad stuff, and drugs, it's not everybody does that. I used to do that back in the 80s, but not anymore. I'm an old man now. But all the homes are being built in Marina, all those new stuff and everything. I thought I'd get first-time home buyers. It would be like 500,000, but those are going for 1.5 million. I mean,
I got 2 questions specifically about the iHelp program. Can you give me the referral number that you're referring to? And then 2, can you elaborate on the resources given by the program? Is it busing to like the different churches, or like what is provided in the meantime? The gentleman before me kind of hinted to like there was no food being served, things of that nature.
There's food.
When we ask people what's the best thing about having been in iHelp, they say the food. Because it's often cooked by loving people in the community, people who want to help in a concrete way with the problem of homelessness. So they deliver the food to us each night. It's extraordinary. Sometimes it's bought from a supermarket, but often it's prepared in people's kitchens. And then we give them breakfast to go. If the men, probably hardier than the ones for the women, because the women have the gathering for women that they can get a nice breakfast and lunch to add, and also showers. We can't do any of that because we're in churches. They don't usually have showers available. Occasionally there's a church that has a shower, and the men have access to a church that they're at twice a month that has a shower, Cypress. So that we can do. Food is not an issue at all. Do we provide food to go with the men beyond that? Usually that's not an issue. We make sure that they know where they can get other food that they need during the day. Food pantries, etc., they give it out all the time. Most of the women have sources of income. Some of the men do. Some of the men have disability. Some of the men are able to work through the men's coordinator of the program, the director of the program. If a man is able to work, he's physically able. It has to be physical labor because that's what he knows. He's able to get them on with other companies that he knows once he sees that they can work. But we don't have case managers. If we did, we'd have to have people willing to work at night when people, if they've been out on the streets all day, they're tired and they want to go to bed. And they're usually lights out 10 o'clock at night. Many of them are laying down at 8 o'clock, 8:15. We sometimes have programs at night, groups, even something that's fun, a movie, but it just depends. It depends on the church and the team at that church, what they're able to do. Though we do bring in people who have skills to do therapy and things like that occasionally. But it isn't a time of day when you can reach other agencies. We can tell people about the agencies, but we can't take them to it. We often know people at the agencies, and if our directors have time during the day, they'll make a phone call when they're on their other jobs, because they just have time. That's about what we can do. We wish we could do more. And I want to tell you, you no longer need to be vaccinated to come into IHELP. You were way back when there was a great push, and we believe that this vaccine was spread in different ways. So we required it then. We don't require vaccination anymore. Sometimes we ask the men to wear, and the women to wear masks on the buses, and if they're not eating at night when they're at the churches. If you want any other questions, we'd be more than glad to answer you or to meet with you, let you know. Thank you. And the city of Seaside has them, and police know about us. We've been around. The men's program has been operating. These pastors just wouldn't give up in this area, and that's why there's a men's shelter. There's no other services for men. There are other services now for women.
And I can say in the spirit of collaboration, which is why we're all trying to come together, we were talking earlier around how can we develop a direct kind of link to a referral so that programs like mine that do provide case management and support people with housing needs and other social service needs can get that referral then, as they do operate after hours. And we know agencies are closed, and so then, I know the challenge for them is how do we connect them to resources. So we're trying to figure out a way that we can do that, and our program does operate into the evening. We have a staff on shifts, till 9 or 10 o'clock, and so that does allow us the ability to engage if there is a desire for folks to want to receive services. So that's something that is going to be growing and developing soon enough.
To the services that you provide, they're only after hours, and you kind of already asked or touched upon that. The referral base, is there any referral base currently with iHealth? And if so, are you connected with the coalition? And if you are connected with the coalition, at what capacity?
She's engaged right now, but she brought some cards here. We have some at the Family Community Support Program, but there is a number. It's a pretty simple referral process to actually just call them, and then, like she said, there'll be just a quick little, kind of, interview or quick questions just to determine your need, which, program, you need to be a part of, and then they'll tell you where to meet, and how to then engage from there. So it's pretty simple. You just call them directly. I don't think there's a form or anything that has to be filled out and sent in ahead of time or anything like that. So the referral process is pretty simple, which is good. She has some cards over here. We have some. If folks need, more, we can always acquire more. We can help make that connection if you need as well. There was questions around the referral process itself, how that happens, and so if you would like to just kind of expand, and then the other question was, is your agency connected to the Coalition of Homeless Services Providers, CHSP?
I'm so glad that you asked that, because we are not a member of the coalition. But the reason is, it costs, I think it's $2,500 to join. We don't have that kind of money. We have asked, and they even came up with a reduced amount, but it's still so much money for us. We can't get state money that the coalition gives out, so we would meet all the requirements otherwise, because we don't have the ability to have an audit, because there are thousands of dollars. Years ago, when I worked with Reverend Gaskins, somebody donated an intern. They were a CPA, and they had an office, and they brought an intern to us who needed so many audits to get their license as a CPA. They don't exist anymore. We ask everybody, if anyone here knows a CPA, they'll do a free audit for us, even a reduced amount, because otherwise they're like $7,000. So to apply for funding, you have to have an audit. And then you have to have an audit every couple of years if you get funding for 2 years. It only lasts so long, you need another audit. We can account for every penny we make all the time, and we could do other lesser things, but we can't afford an audit. So that's the issue around the coalition. We go to the coalition meetings and we sit in and we let them know what we do. And we try to keep up with the things, but we are not a member of the coalition. We're glad you're here. And the ones that are able to get funding all deserve every penny of it. The other thing is, how do you reach us? The number on the back of this card will reach somebody who will get it to the men's program director or the women's program director. And they will call you back. And they will work out, they'll talk about what you need and let you know things like you gotta be able to climb on the bus. You know, how old are you? Things like that. And to figure out if we can meet your need. I was telling the people here, we have no one on staff that speaks Spanish currently. And that's a problem because we only have 2 or 3 staff for the women and a couple for the men. And there are people that work only at night between 4:30 and 11 o'clock or else 11 o'clock to the morning. Yes?
What's the percentage of black residents, homeless residents that you service, and do you have any black employees?
Yes. And our program director is African American.
Okay, great.
In the women's program, not in the men's. But we pay attention for that. We pay minimum wage. I'm ashamed to say it, but that's all we can do. And it's not like our program directors get a whole lot more, and they're very experienced. We just are a grassroots program that has never had the money to afford social workers. Though I'm a licensed worker, and we have had people come and volunteer who were licensed. Things like that. Some miracles happen. So I think God has his hand over my help. But we do worry, will we make it until the money comes in from this fundraiser or that fundraiser or that? We do have people that generously give us money regularly, churches that regularly give us money. My own church just decided to regularly give St. Mary's is my church. But it's not tons of money, but it's what we can do right now, and it will make a difference. So that's how we're funded, and that is why we don't have more staff. We know we would love a housing navigator, but what we can do is tell you which places have them, how to get there, and follow up and ask you, how did it go yesterday? Who did you talk to? Oh, I know her. Did you tell them such and such? Do you need help filling out the paperwork? We can do things like that, and we do that all the time.
Whoa. Whoa, wow.
Whoa.
That's God right there. That's
Yeah.
I just really
I think
feel like
something.
it is.
Whoa.
Well, that might be the package of the generous Cheez-Its. Please, if you need cards, thank you so much. Derek, thank you for all your help.
You're so very welcome.
Yeah.
Wow, that's something right there.
Coalition,
I've never seen anything like
went
that.
down on Seaside there, like,
Hi, everybody. I'm Roxanne Wilson. I'm the County Homeless Services Director, and I used to work for the Coalition of Homeless Services Providers. So the Coalition's not actually a direct service provider, and I think that that's the first thing that makes it a little complicated, is that what they usually do is pull together all of the stakeholders. They, as you heard, we have a lot of LEAD people here. Shout out to LEAD. They pull together lived experience boards to help inform policy, and they collect data and they analyze data, pursue money, and bring that money into, so other nonprofits could do services. So I would like to get your information. I happen to know the people at the coalition, so I can send your information over there to them.
and yours Monterey County Housing Authority?
No, I work for the County of Monterey, the County Administrative Officer.
Oh, okay.
So the county is a large entity, and my position is fairly new. It's only been there for about 1.5 years, and they hired me on to really work with the departments and create more of a comprehensive system on how we approach homelessness, also build relationships with the cities. Shout out to the Alliance, who are working on some cool stuff too. So it's very different, I think, than like what some of my colleagues in here are doing who do direct services. So,
Do you have those offices in Marina?
no, I'm actually work out of the county government building in Salinas.
I got safe parking for that occupied offices in Marina, former Fort Road.
No, but that's the supervisor's office, and then also the military and veteran.
Sarah?
Supervisor Askew?
I'd have to look at my notes.
It's a, yeah, I'd love to learn more about
Yeah,
what's
it was
going on.
a month or 2 months ago. I got approved to be parking out there. I just don't have the gas money to go out there when I see right here sometimes.
Okay.
But when I do have the gas money, I go out there and park and I go, okay, real good. And then you see all the military girls flying around going, oh, that's right, special officer stock.
It's still remnants of Fort Ord. So now that I have the mic, as I was mentioning, the county had hired me to be kind of like a person who works with all of the departments. So as I mentioned, the county is huge. So you have Department of Social Services, Health, Sheriff's Office, and then the Health Department breaks off into several bureaus. The Department of Social Services breaks off into several branches. So one of the things that I implemented when I first came to the county is there are these, like the United States Interagency Council on Homelessness, they bring all of their agencies or departments together, HUD, Department of Transportation, et cetera, so they could talk about homelessness. And then the state of California did the same exact thing, called Cal-ICH. So when I got to the county, I did the same thing. So now once a month, I hold meetings with all of the departments and we coordinate services. Just try to be a little bit more comprehensive. That bird is crazy.
Yes.
Distracting.
That's God's thing.
So anyway, I've never really truly been a direct service provider, but I am on the systems level. So if you guys have any questions about like which agencies are doing what and like how agencies report to the federal and state government, how we pursue money, like all of those things I can certainly answer. But when it comes down to direct services and what's going on with the agencies, your experience of having people not answer the phones, the best that I could do is try to engage with the agencies and see what's going on and see if we could get them to respond to you.
I'm with like Cecil, Interim, Macomb.
Yep, want to know about all of it.
I'm with them for probably 2 years in April. But I found out truthfully that last January, a bunch of them cut me off because that's when I got my disability back pay. And I was staying in the motels to start looking for an apartment, and I couldn't find anything affordable, but yet there's no rent control on motels around here, and they were charging $300 to $500 a night when our bed was going on down. Plus, like when Car Week was going on, all the rich people coming into town to go to Beacom auctions, Sotheby's, the Concourse d'Elegance, was a clearing of Monterey and Seaside,
Yes.
and all the homeless, and that's, to me, that's not, it's not not cool. And why is the former Fort Ord, if it really is a former Fort Ord, that you're not allowed to camp out there when you're off the beaten path and people can't really see you if you keep it clean and nice?
So Fort Ord is kind of like an interesting place. Many people may remember FORA, the Fort Ord Reuse Authority, and they were in charge of divvying up the land and reallocating it to local jurisdictions. There's some parts of Fort Ord that's really choppy, and it's like this part belongs to this city, that part belongs to another city, and it's like one street.
Marina and Seaside.
Well, there's also, I think Colonel Durham is probably the most diced up, sliced up area with many different jurisdictions, but that's a different conversation for a different day. A lot of people ask me, why are we not using Fort Ord? That's a complicated answer, actually, mostly because it's a dangerous place.
It's been cleaned up, but special ops are out there, I know that.
There's a lot of lead inside of some of those buildings, a lot of asbestos.
A lot of asbestos and lead,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so what happened is a lot of cities and actually nonprofits, so the coalition, fun fact about the coalition, it was actually established not to be the continuum of care originally. It was established because the agencies had banded together to advocate so some of Fort Ord be given to nonprofits to be used for homeless services. That's why. Veterans Transition Center is there, Housing Authority, Community Homeless Solutions, Interim Inc. All of those organizations have banded together to create the coalition. The continuum of care didn't come until several years, like well over, I think, a decade and a half after they had advocated for that transfer of land. So that coalition was just there to make sure that that land did go to homeless services. One of the things that I had learned is some of that more land was supposed to be given to homeless service providers, but once the agency started going in and doing like environmental reviews, they realized that there's nothing they could do with that property because a lot of federal funding requires that your land passes the environmental reviews. And you need that federal funding for long-term sustainable services, so you're not constantly at risk of closing your doors. And that's the problem with federal funding, is the there's that bird. That's the type of issues that folks have on why we can't do certain things. I know it seems like it's low-hanging fruit, but I can guarantee you many, many brilliant minds have gotten together to figure out what could we do with Fort Ord, and what we have is kind of what they had come up with. And then the city of Marina, and I don't know if anyone from Marina is here, but Marina had to lose quite a bit of money on all of that development because of all of the land mediation that had to take place in order to build those housing. And I think that actually contributes to why it's so expensive.
Well, right off of Light Fighter, you can see all the track homes that are being built. And I mean, they're 15 feet apart. I mean, that's not, why is that $1.5 million for a home that you're living that close?
I think
and the apartment buildings that are being built out there, that should be a low income. I mean, we need to get 10-story apartment buildings, stuff like that get going.
I agree. We need
Don't
to
put them right on the beach because that's going to block your ocean view. Put them like 2 miles, 3 miles inland on the former, where barracks used to be out there.
So again, I think a lot of the reason why homes are so expensive in Fort Ord is because of what it costs to remediate the land from all of the toxins that were left over from when the fort was there. And I know a lot of it is in the soil. It's just, Fort Ord is just, we thought it was a good gift, and it has a lot of problems. But we can talk about homelessness a lot. There's a lot of things that we can't control on a local level. Really important that you advocate, that you talk to your state and federal electeds, because the types of rules that they put on that money really does drive what we're able to do locally. Most recently, the governor had just he had removed homeless housing assistance and prevention funding, round 6, from the budget. So we're losing probably somewhere around $7 million a year in homelessness. It's really important to work with your electeds. It's super, super important because they need to advocate. And I also agree, 75% of the people who are unsheltered are men. We do see a lot of people who just build for women and children, not saying that women and children are not very important, vulnerable populations, but data says that we need to do more for men. And I do agree, and we need to do something. And so a lot of that also goes back to dealing with your electeds. Make sure that your electeds know that you do want a program in your community that helps men. Oftentimes, decisions are being made and people show up in droves to stop a homeless project. And then it kind of gets watered down over time, and you're like, okay, fine. And we imagined we were going to do something much more larger, but because of the community pushback, we're only allowed to do this. So your electeds need to know that you care about everybody. Your electeds need to know that you're okay with these programs being in your neighborhoods.
But you're with Monterey County, right?
I am with the county.
I have ideas for out there in the garrison.
I have a question with regards to systems.
Yeah.
So when we talk about systems, knowledge systems, even if we go and advocate to our elected officials, the way the systems are being ran are not affordable and equitable and also accessible to folks. So let's talk about the coalition for an example. It is a hub to bring in all the other case managers or nonprofits that are able to case manage either emergency vouchers or folks that are in the CAR system. Those organizations are unaware of the systems that are in place to run the system from the coalition's point of view. A lot of the organizations, when we had the first meeting that didn't have the coalition here, and I don't see the coalition here again, they may have left early, as I may have heard someone say, but the organizations that are members
are unaware of the process of once they submit a case to the coalition.
Like through coordinated entry?
The coordinated entry,
Yeah.
the cars,
Yeah.
all of that. And as you said, the interim, the part where you guys came in and started now being the in-between, the third party that brings in that funding for everyone else in the Monterey County, that's all you do, but there's no system in place to onboard these organizations so that they know the process, so that they can then facilitate that information to the individuals that they are helping. And when I say that, I mean from when you're onboarding the organization to let them know that there is a scale that someone has to meet in order to be placed in a certain waiting list in order to be facilitated a home at a certain rate, right? None of that individual aspect is being tagged on. Some of the organizations that are members that were here at the last one said they never got that onboarding, but also when they relate that information to the actual person, that person is then told, okay, I'm on a waiting list. There's several waiting lists and there's levels to that waiting list, but those providers don't know, and the coalition isn't filtering that information over to those providers so that they can then give that information to the folks that they are servicing. And so, how?
Does everybody know what she's talking about? Cars? Does everybody know what cars?
Yes, it's the system that you have to be put in order to give services or resources.
So I want to catch up because I think that what you're saying is very valuable. For those of you guys who do not know, I don't work for the coalition anymore, so I want to be very careful about speaking on behalf of. I'm speaking on my experience and knowledge of what coordinated entry is, being the person who launched coordinated entry. So the federal government had mandated a system called the coordinated entry system, and locally it's called the coordinated assessment and referral system. And essentially, the federal government was saying, if you are an agency that received continuum of care federal funding, then you are only allowed to receive your clients through your local CES, locally it's called CARS. And the coalition, being the continuum of care, they were the ones that were responsible for creating this system. And essentially what that means is there's like three or four components of coordinated entry. The first one is assessment. So every single person who wanted to get, now mind you, we're talking about 2016, things have changed since then. So in 2016, every single person who wanted to get into one of these federally funded programs had to be assessed with the same exact assessment. That assessment essentially provides the coalition with a vulnerability index score. That score, to your point, helps the coalition determine what intervention would be most appropriate for you. So what we had learned back in the days, like in the 90s and the early 2000s, everybody thought transitional housing was going to be the end-all be-all, solve homelessness. But what we've learned, fast forward to the future, is that a lot of people were failing out of transitional housing. And the reason why is because it's really good for a very narrow scope of individuals who can pull their lives together in 18 to 24 months. It took me 10 years to get my life together. So that, like I said, transitional housing is really starting to become a dying intervention. Now the coalition has pivoted and said, all right, we're gonna start trying to move some of these transitional housing programs into permanent supportive housing because we wanted to give people longer times to get their lives together and to stabilize, and we didn't want to put that 18 to 24 month block on them. Because also another fun fact, if you entered into transitional housing because you got a lease, you broke your chronicity, which means if you were chronically homeless and you end up going into transitional housing and you failed out because you were put in the wrong intervention, you are no longer qualified for permanent supportive housing because you broke your chronicity. So the coalition has been working really hard to understand, like, how is coordinated entry looking in our community, and it's been through several iterations. And also, I don't know if you know this, the homeless service provider network has an incredibly high turnover. So institutional knowledge gets lost repeatedly, and we are starting brand new, with brand new people trying to reintroduce what's going on here, and it is very complicated. But going back to coordinated entry, to your point, one of the hardest things is a homeless person may walk inside of a building and say, I would like your service. And that agency, being federally funded and now state, because the state is also mandating this, that agency says, sorry, I can't serve you, but what I can do is give you an assessment and we're gonna send it to the coalition. And it feels like nothing happens. The CARS master list can be anywhere between 1,000 to 4,000 people. And they started creating systems since I left. They started creating systems on trying to keep that list clean. Because what ends up happening is, let's say, Interim Inc. says, okay, coalition, we have 3 beds, send us some referrals. The coalition will go through their list based off the vulnerability index score, determine which clients actually are eligible for that program, because every single program has their own eligibility criterion, and then they will make the referral. But what happens is people lose their phone numbers get disconnected, and we lose contact. So that prolongs a person's ability. If you're like the 10th person, sometimes they gotta go through 7 people before they find someone whose phone is working.
I went through 4 of those free phones already over the last year and a half. I'm dropping them and they don't replace them. And
So also to her point, those case managers don't tell folks that you need to, this is how you update us with your contact information, or they do, but sometimes that information gets lost. So communication is probably one of the biggest complaints that I hear across the board.
I failed myself at that.
Just people don't know, we're not communicating well to the constituents who are seeking services. Constituents are not able to communicate back with us.
With my new phone numbers, I should call you guys and give you the update.
Not me, the coalition, man. So I'm sorry, I'm hoarding this. I'm gonna give this back. Thank you.
Got lost track. Oh, the CARS assessment program. Isn't that supposed to be based on finding basically homeless people that are not they're not really, I mean, we're all mental because of, I see this kind of psychiatrist due to depression and having a trippy thing where I think people are against me and they're trying to set me up and steal from me and stuff. Or I had my tent stolen out there, and he helped me once.
Hey.
You remember me? I remember. Yeah, 7-Eleven. You did. Right. You did an excellent job. You were the only one who brought me blankets and food that day. You met me at the 7-Eleven in San City there, and you brought me everything I needed because I was right after the guy stole my tent. I had totes in my tent with clothing in it, and I kept all neat and clean. But I went and started staying in the Bakeries Motel there, and after 2 weeks came back, and my tent was gone, and not a single other homeless guy around me or female around me said anything that they didn't see anything happen, and they were all right next to it. I don't know, they got bits and pieces of my tent, my stuff in the tent.
Oh,
and see, they acted like they didn't, and it's just
The CARS is up for reassessment. My name is Lavisha. I co-chair the lead council for the Coalition for Homeless Service Providers, and we've actually been in effect for a year now, and we've been addressing a lot of those issues so that there is accountability. So what we've done over this year, we've helped to draft a governance charter, which is planning to be implemented in June. And we're also establishing like a grievance committee, so there can be some type of accountability and people can be held accountable for, those that fall through the cracks. We are looking for people to join these committees, so please bring your powerful voice, because it's very much needed for us to be able to advocate for this reassessment. And a lot of these processes are antiquated, and we have to bring it up to speed to what the need is in the community. So everything that you said is very, very important, and all of those areas need to be addressed, and we need to be able to hold
institutions accountable, right? So that we won't have these fall through the cracks. So like we see what the needs are, but it's just a matter of making it happen and getting it implemented. And this governance charter that has been drafted, we can tell you there's a lot of accountability, and we're also on next week we'll be meeting again with the home base. They're doing like a CARS reassessment. They're looking into it. What can we do to fix the kinks, to keep the cracks from being fall through, and also establishing this grievance committee will be very important because it creates a space for people to come in and for us to be able to, enforce accountability. So great questions, and like I said, we're looking for people to join these committees because, of course, we all can't do it all, but we need the help of the community, those voices who want to see change happen. So please come in, please encourage others to join, and go on the website and you can see, I believe all that information will be there at the CHSB website to join and get involved and use your voice so that we can see those changes made. The Leave Me Home plan is a great plan, and it has the intention to decrease homelessness in our community by 50%, but even that plan has cracks in it, right? So we want to seal all those cracks. So yes, thank you for bringing that up. Great.
And I have to say I appreciate Lee being in the building. Lee is the lived experience advisory director. Thank you. I got it, the acronyms and make sure it's correct. The main thing being lived experience, I think, in that, right? And several folks I know have lived experience. The best way for us to know how to help is to listen to those who need the help, right? And so, as she said, they're looking for folks, to join them, to collaborate with them, to understand, hearing directly from their own voices. This is what we need. This is what's going to be most helpful to us. This is how you can best communicate with us. This is how we will best then interact and engage with you, because you're giving us dignity, you're treating us humanely, right? And so just keep that in mind. Alicia's awesome, so speak to her about it, and see what you can do to help out.
My name is Cindy Hyatt. I am the housing lead for Downtown Streets team, and I'm here with Christopher Sakamoto. He's one of our case managers, and Jasmine Hano, who is our office admin and outreach coordinator. And we came tonight to talk about our rapid rehousing program that we've been running for the last year and a half. We started a pilot last year, last fiscal year. And in the last calendar year, we've housed over 70 individuals. For the last fiscal year, we've had a 71% success rate for folks who are still housed under our program. We have funding to help folks get into new places. We can help with submitting referrals to get vouchers or to other service providers. We offer comprehensive case management services, volunteer work experience program. And also I wanted to reach out to the gentleman in the black jacket with the glasses. It was mentioned that he needed services. I would really like to invite him to come and speak with our case manager, Chris, and see if there's anything that we can do to help your situation, okay? If you all have any questions, please come find us. I know I'll be reaching out to Yolania over here. I want to touch base with you. And we used to work together at a different job, so happy to see you, girl.
And I want to give a shout out to you, just because I feel like you're like my spirit animal right now with those questions as far as the coalition and getting our responses on the assessments that we give, and just kind of being like, okay, what do we do now? What do we do now? And then those two as well, because they broke it down pretty well, so I'm pretty stoked to see what goes on next.
Thank you, Downtown Peace Team.
My name is Tom Lampier. I am the grant writer and peer specialist for the Veterans Transition Center of California. So we deal specifically with veterans, and it has to do with the McKinney-Vento Act and the lease that we got for our properties. The federal government specifically stated we have to do veteran homelessness activities. So unfortunately, that is all we can provide for, but in a way it is fortunate. So in Monterey County right now, there's 172 homeless veterans on the streets that we've been able to identify. That doesn't account for those that are in transition from other counties also. So that's a big concern for us. So in our program right now, we have 106 formerly homeless veterans in our housing program. And we have a great success rate in our program. We're running 78% for employment and permanent housing once they transition through our program. And maybe just to share with you why it's successful is the case management and the support services. So, you know, getting a veteran that's dealing with PTSD to reach out and break his own barriers that they build and to say, I need help, that's a struggle. It's a real struggle. So our case management team gets the burden of crisis off their shoulders. And we do that through our food pantry, our clothing program. They don't pay bills in our housing program. Everything's free. Right? We want to take the burden of having to worry about finances off the table right from the gate. And then on a weekly basis, they meet with our case management team. And they go through goals and strategies to help them find success in their life. Now, one of the other interesting things that we do at VTC is we also work with the incarcerated community. So that's often a very overlooked community when it comes to homelessness. There are a lot of parolees who come out of the state system and they end up on the street and they recidivate, either through new crimes or parole violations. So our program, we go into the state correction systems and we do rehabilitative programs. And when these veterans parole, we take them into our program. We are the only program in the state of California that can say we have a 0% recidivism rate for any veteran going through our program. So what we like to do is replicate our stuff statewide. And it's not just with the incarcerated community, but what we're doing with the homeless veterans in this community. So you might have seen on the news or heard that we have Light Fighter Village going up. That's going to be in operation in January of 2025. We're also in the process, I'm in the process, I'm running the grants for it, of trying to secure funding for the EUL, which is the old VA clinic. And we're going to turn that into a center of excellence, which is a complete wraparound services, basically replicating what we have. But we're partnering with 20 other community providers to provide those services. And we also want to build another apartment complex. So when I'm listening to everybody here, funding is a problem, right? It is a big problem. And maybe something that we can get together on, and especially with our voices and maybe with our politicians, is to find easier ways to apply for CDBG, to streamline that process so it's not so complicated. Maybe in the case of, and she's gone right now, grants that are specific for religion, because if anybody's familiar with grants, you know that church organizations are often excluded from grants. So it doesn't seem fair that there's opportunities for some organizations and not opportunities for others when the mission is the same. And that's incredibly frustrating for me because I read grants every day. And I see who's left out and I see who's included. So maybe somewhere down the line we can get our heads together and figure out a way, maybe not just on a local level, but a state level and federal level, to address this glaring need in funding so we can get the homeless people taken care of. We do partner with a lot of nonprofits, not just locally, but statewide. And I can tell you right now, it's not enough. I am constantly running out of resources. Our organization runs out of resources. So it's the everyday struggle to get those resources. Now, it's great having partners in the community, especially when we have veterans who are trying to get their HUD-VASH voucher, and the VA says, well, we don't have any vouchers for that area of Monterey. It's like he was saying, 3600 Pacific Grove, Marina 2680. So the VA has different categories where you can get a voucher at. And when the VA says they're out of voucher, I now have to go out of county to get a veteran housed and to get a voucher from Santa Cruz or San Benito. So on the federal level, it's frustrating also. So I share the frustration for housing, and I share your concern also. And I have my cards up here, and if any of you know Kurt Shockey, he is our CEO, very knowledgeable person. Even though our organization deals specifically with veterans, I hope nobody thinks that we're only there for veterans. If you reach out and you ask for our assistance, if you want some guidance or maybe some tips on how to get things going, by all means, please call. Please call. We're all in this together.
Yeah. Thank you so very much for joining us tonight. We are about the time to have to close out tonight's listening session. Before I do that though, I just want to let you know there will be another listening session happening this month in 2 weeks. on February 22nd. It will be in the same space here. Obviously, as we know, there's a lot of work to be done when it comes to addressing the needs of our unhoused population. And there can never be enough of us getting together, you know, kind of trying to come up with solutions, trying to figure out ways to collaborate and creatively address this. So again, thank you for joining us tonight. Please, you know, exchange information, you know, business cards if you can before you leave. But again, February 22nd, we'll have another listening session. So we hope to see you back again on that day. Thank you.